Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 men.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
West Texas, you know, I don't know.
You know we're on the air, right?
Yeah, West Texas.
West Texas. You love West Texas. Welcome in.
I've had some good times in West Texas.
Hey, I'd like to make an announcement.
Okay.
Back-to-back days, Texas A&M has slapped the University of Texas in getting a commit. Back-to-back.
Yeah, KJ Edwards.
One head-to-head. They love to talk all this smack on Twitter, right? That, you know, but it's back-to-back days that A&M has won, and a very impressive KJ Edwards, the most recent. Sam Rosenborough yesterday. Today, yeah. KJ Edwards.
It's funny. I don't really typically get involved in the recruiting social media jousts. Yeah. But I did see that after Roseboro committed, a bunch of
Ketch had that
people
tweet
on that side were like suddenly minimizing him.
Well, not only that, Ketch said that, you know, all these A&M sites aren't even really reporting. We're so blessed, however he phrased it, about Texas. We have so many people reporting this. A&M didn't have any. Bro, stop your fake lies. Anyway, very proud of Elko and company. I think they've moved up to number 2.
Number 2.
As you always say, when a big-time commit comes, you got to finish, right?
Yeah, he's on the line, not on the boat.
Right.
But he's on the line.
What a backfield, potential backfield with him and Jonathan Hatton.
Yeah, and you know, it used to be that you wanted the one guy, and running backs at one time were kind of like quarterbacks are now. That I want to be the only guy that you sign in the class. But I think it started really. I mean, SMU had its thing with Dickerson and James, but I think it really started with Virginia Tech when they split. I think they had a guy named Lee Suggs, and maybe it was Kevin Slayton. And they convinced them that, hey, you know, you have to have as many carries, but you can be twice as ready and twice as fresh, twice as productive, and it worked. And I think more and more running backs have seen that and said, yeah, I like the idea. You know, the idea that you only have so many carries in your body.
Well, A&M has done this forever.
Forever. I can remember when it was Greg Hill, and Rodney Thomas, and Leland McElroy.
I mean. All NFL players,
and you know, so those guys are highly touted. Hopefully, they'll be as good as they're billed to be.
Yeah,
and hopefully, they'll all be here, and A&M will have a strong running game for the next decade and beyond.
A couple of things about him: over 4,000 career rushing yards, 3 varsity seasons. In 24, 1,789 rushing yards, 23 touchdowns on 142 carries. Holy smokes. Number 47 overall player. Number 2 running back in Texas.
Just in Texas? Wow. I figured he'd probably be in the whole nation.
He is also big play. Just very excited about adding him to the group.
You know where he's from?
Carthage.
You know where Carthage is?
Up there.
Up there.
Up there.
That's in the old neighborhood. That's in East Texas, the gas capital.
Up to the east, yeah.
Yeah, just a stone's throw from Marshall and Shreveport.
Congratulations to Coach Elko. Let's finish it. By the way, Coach Elko, busy with coaches' nights.
Yeah, he is. What was he in Fort Worth last night?
Yeah, Fort Worth. I think he's in Dallas tonight.
That's a part of the job, and he does it well.
Here's a little commentary he said, okay?
I've noticed he hadn't sent any of his assistants to represent him in any of these things.
I remember when that happened. Was it in San Antonio that happened?
Coaching school.
Coaching, yeah.
I think it might have been two things. It might have been a coach's night and then coach in school, which is, that doesn't sit well with all the high school coaches. But no, Elko doesn't do that.
Coach Elko, yesterday, we tweeted this out. Since I got here in 2018, we've had as many defensive linemen drafted as any team in the SEC at 11. We've gotten to this mode of next man up, next man up. That's not to diminish the two, Shamars and Nick. We do feel comfortable about the pipeline of guys we have, and we're going to be able to do.
Sounds great. I do have high hopes for all three of the freshman tackles that came in, plus Marco on the edge. But it's going to be really important. And I trust his judgment, especially on defensive players. So it's really going to be important what the guys that came in through the transfer portal and how they play for A&M on the defensive front.
So we're not talking about a short window here, right? If Elko got here in 2018, and yes, he left for a couple seasons, we know that. But this is a proven track record of developing here at this school pipeline for the NFL.
I mean, the numbers bear it out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they haven't all been first-round picks, but hey, you know.
Can you play on Sundays?
Can you play? And do they get you into the league? And they do. How many of those guys you think you could list, those 11?
I don't know. You want to go through it?
Well, I mean, there's Leal, there's Peavy, there's.
That was just recently, too. That was right when he was leaving.
There's Bobby Brown.
Right.
There's all the guys this week. There's Matt BK. So
he's got an eye for talent and an eye for development. And I think his track record to me, like I've said this before, I just believe in Coach Elko. And I'm going to believe in him until I shouldn't believe in him, right? And I hope that never happens. I hope we have 20 years of amazing run with Coach Elko as your head coach, and they build statues for him, Pat Henry style, as Billy was saying that they should do.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I hope happens. But everything I've seen, I'm on board with.
Yeah, I think, look, like all coaches, he's not infallible. And there have been times in games that you said, we should have done this different. We should have made the change at quarterback in the Notre Dame game. We should have done so. But as far as administratively, as far as repairing relationships with the head coaches of the high school coaches, and then getting to work in the portal and his recruiting and all those other things, I think he's been damn near perfect. Yeah,
and not to touch on it for too long, but that Notre Dame game, I remember that came up in the press box. I think you might have brought it up. Like, I might make the move. I, at that time, would have not made that move because I had up until that point, everything I had seen from Connor made me feel like this guy he's just having a rough half against a good defense. We'll figure this out. I would have never done it. In retrospect, now sitting here today, they might have had a chance to win that game had they made that change.
And that's another thing about Elko, though. He learned, we fast forward 2 months to LSU, and he says, you know what, it's not
working.
So let's make the move.
Yeah.
So in one game he didn't. The next game he says, you know what, I'm not going to do that again. And I applaud that.
Yep.
We all do.
The other thing he says is when you lose first rounders and second rounders, it's not easy. I think Cassius Howell is the first guy that jumps out at you. I think Cassius is going to be an elite player.
I hope he is.
He had elite moments last year.
He definitely did. In my untrained eye, not a coach, not trying to be a coach, just what I seem to observe, I have very little question, if any, about Cassius as a pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
I do think he has to be stronger against the run. And you know what?
The team overall.
Elko has said, and other people have said, he's really grown, and I would suspect that that's part of the growth.
A year under a full year with Tommy Moffitt, full year of SEC training and resources. It'll be very interesting what he develops into, because I don't think Coach Elko is going to be bullish out loud like that unless he really believes what he's saying.
I kind of believe that too. I was talking to another coach on staff, and he just said, look, I'm telling you right now, and this is the way he said it, it's not me. He quote the coach, hey, look, I'm telling you right now, Cassius Howell is going to be a big problem. And he meant, for opponents. So let's hope.
Let's get a couple dudes with 10 sacks. Can we do that? I asked for it last year. I didn't get close.
I take one with 10. I wonder how often one team has two guys with double-figure sacks.
Matthew Dawson. We'll ask that question later. Another thing that Coach Elko said that I wanted to get into, because this kind of all fits into this. If you studied teams in the playoff last year, those teams were 80% homegrown starters. They started that program and played at that program. I think that is the formula. Now, it kind of depends on your situation, right?
Right.
Like if you come from like Bucky had for basketball, different. He had to, the whole thing has to be transfers, right? Like it's in a different world. But I think in a perfect world, you are developing because you got guys from multiple seasons, right? Multiple seasons learning your way, your methodology, your practice habits, your culture, and developing in that system. And then you have, I don't want to say piecemeal, but you bring in
cherry pick
some of the areas that you're missing.
Yeah, exactly. You bring in your guys. High school recruiting is still important. Build that foundation, develop guys, and then when you sit back, say, maybe this guy at this position didn't develop like we hoped he would, and we think we can get better, and here's a guy, so let's get better at this position with this guy, and let's get better at this position with this guy. But I think if you're like a team like Ole Miss, and recently, and they were good, but they didn't make the playoff. But I mean, almost their whole, that's an exaggeration when I say, a large part of their team was dependent, their roster was brought in with portal guys.
So LSU, I think this year in the SEC had the
They've been very good about using the portal. Now this year they're using it more
than they have, right?
But I think they've been good in the past using the portal to just supplement, what they need.
Yeah, and I think A&M did very well in the portal, but they are. I don't know if for the most part. They feel homegrown. I don't know if for the most part they're homegrown.
Well, think about where the portal guys came from. I mean, what position? They went heavy in the defensive line. They needed help there.
Yep.
They went, I don't want to say heavy. They tried to go heavy at receiver.
In the wide receiver, yep.
They needed to get better there.
Yep.
Did they even take a lineman? Offensive lineman? I don't think so.
There might have been one but not one of the core guys.
No running backs. Brought in a quarterback just to be a backup emergency in case. Defensive backs, they needed help. So they may have taken more than some teams do, but so much of it was directed at just a couple of positions.
Yeah. And I'm okay with every position adding a guy from the portal, but like the bulk of your team should not. Now look, wide receiver is a position that I think portal help. Whoever you are goes a long, long way. We've seen it at Ole Miss. We've seen it at other places. At LSU, they went portal heavy at wide receiver this year.
Well, look at Texas last year.
And by the way, we talked about it on the show yesterday, but quarterback, you've had a bunch of quarterbacks win Heisman trophies as transfers recently.
Yep. Yeah, even before the so-called portal.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow comes to mind.
Joe Burrow.
But Will Howard last year.
Will Howard last year, yeah. Who didn't win the Heisman, but won a national championship. Jaden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there have been a few. Caleb Williams, who won at Oklahoma, then transferred and won again at USC.
Yes, and then lost. But he did win the Heisman Trophy.
That's what I'm saying. The Heisman Trophy winner transfers.
Yeah.
Anywho, if you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you got to probably know the show you're listening to. It's TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. We are currently where?
Right here or right here?
Here.
Right here, we're in the holistic planning cool zone.
It's very cool here. Again, call us up.
Chilly.
I don't actually know if we can take a call, but we'll try. 979-693-1150, or you can text the program. That I can guarantee we get. 979-693-1150. How are you feeling about the defensive line after hearing Coach Elko speak about it, about the pipeline, about the future, about the season right now? Well, in a couple of months. Let us know. 979-693-1150. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant.
Let's do.
Ava Davis.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I have some basketball updates for you.
Tell me Tell me more, yes.
Okay, I will. The Texas A&M's women basketball announced and learned its home and away opponents for the 2025-26 SEC schedule. The SEC slate will feature 16 games with 8 home games and 8 away games. The A&M is set to take on every team in the league at least once, and Oklahoma being the program's annual rotating opponent that will play both home and away. Texas A&M will host Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, LSU, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. 6 of the 8 opponents for Texas A&M made the NCAA tournament last season, with South Carolina highlighting the group as national runner-up and winner of 2 of the last 4 national titles. The Aggies will face on the road Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Missouri, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas. The Texas A&M defeated both Kentucky and Ole Miss last season at home, recording the first program's ranked victory since 2021. Texas A&M has signed 7 transfers this offseason so far, to go along with 3 returners and 3 freshmen.
Big year for Joni.
It is. Man, that's a tough home schedule.
Yeah.
When you got LSU and South Carolina. Of course, if you flip it, you're saying, well, you got Texas and Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I guess, if you're going to play in this league, you just understand it's going to be that way.
It's part of the deal. Ayla, anything else for us?
I do. Yesterday, for going into softball, Texas A&M, Maya Perez was named to College Sports Communicators, softball academic first team All-American after achieving major success on the court and in the classroom. This is the first time that the award has been earned since 2008, and only the 4th time in program history that an Aggies got it. In the classroom, Maya Perez completed her sophomore year maintaining a 3.5 GPA in sport management. She has been named to athletic director's honor roll every semester she's been here at Texas A&M.
Good stuff, Ava. Appreciate you. Thank you. OB.
Yeah.
Florida family in town. Okay, they're flying in this morning. Got some cousins coming in. I'm going to take them to Houston to see my pops.
You got to be a big host.
I got to be a host. And Elizabeth's like, maybe we should get some barbecue. And I'm like, girl, it's true.
Well, I know. I tell you what I would truly do.
Tell me what
if I wanted to make.
I want you to tell me what you truly do, and then I want you to lie to me. I want both.
Okay. Well, the truth is, I would take them to 1775 for lunch.
Okay. They won't be here by lunch, so I was thinking about picking it up
open from 11
a.m. to 3.
Yeah.
Or until they're sold out.
Yeah. So I mean, still good later. I believe me.
Yeah. So I think I should pick it up and bring it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, I'd get some of that brisket for them because that's kind of synonymous with Texas barbecue. But I also get some of that jalapeno cheese sausage. I do that because they go together.
They do go together.
Like ham and eggs.
Yes.
Like ebony and ivory.
Ebony and ivory.
They go in perfect harmony, just like
Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson?
Or, well, I was going to say just like brisket and salt and
Where's that
jalapeno cheese sausage. I think it's Michael Jackson. Is that, or was it Stevie Wonder? Anyway.
Terrible.
Anyway, get some of the, but if you're so inclined, get some pork ribs. Cuban pork. Like, Cubans eat a lot of pork.
Yeah.
So they probably like that and have a different experience from them.
Yeah.
And then, of course, some queso mac and cheese. Yeah.
Yeah.
They might want to move here after that.
They're going to want to move here. It's 1775txbbq.com, the website, and the phone number 979-492-6241.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Liucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Liucci sent you by.
Yes, Olin, you were correct. It was Stevie Wonder. How did I not remember that?
I remember it from a
SNL
skit.
Yeah.
When the one guy says, I think it's Eddie Murphy playing Stevie Wonder, says, "You are black, I am white," or "I am black, you are white." And I think it was Piscopo being Frank Sinatra says, "You are blind as a bat, I have sight."
That was 1984-ish. No?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. Anyway, we're TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by the warehouse at CC Creations. And we should we're going to talk a little baseball for a moment, shall we?
Okay, yeah.
'Cause I thought we got some pretty
There's some good
cool
news
news
going
yesterday.
on.
We go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Ava Davis, what do you have for us?
Bronny posted yesterday on his Twitter that they've confirmed that the outfielder Caden Sorrell will return to the Texas A&M for his junior season as expected. Caden Rogers, with D1 Baseball, posted talking about how he was going to return, and he also said, "I'm also hearing that A&M is on the verge of landing a massive transfer portal commit."
Okay, couple things there. A massive.
Huh. What could that be? Who could that be?
Well, we have Bronny on the show later.
Speaking of massive.
Right? Massive ego.
Massive girth.
Massive guns. Anywho, we'll talk to him about it, and we'll see if I can. Sometimes he keeps information. What?
There's a young lady over there what was said that was funny. She had both her head and both hands laughing. What?
You're talking about Bronny being massive. I don't think we want to.
His girth. His ego? You said ego.
I did say
anyway.
Ego. Yeah. Speaking of.
Broke some massive news yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, it was big.
Sorrell.
And it was one of the stories that were like, I hope it happens. I think it's going to happen. I keep thinking it's going to happen. I keep being told it's going to happen. And it
finally happened.
It finally happened.
Yeah.
Their best player last year.
I thought he was. I know Lavalette is the guy that, was a high-profile guy, but when it just came to going out there and when he was out there playing, I thought Sorrell was their best player.
All right, he won their most valuable player this year. He was preseason second-team All-SEC. That's with playing not that much of the season. 2024 freshman All-SEC team. What is he, 6'3", 205, couple of other big notes. I think he's only had 23 career home runs. I say only, but he played part of the year this year.
He played half the year.
And but he was, if he would have played the entire year, he would have probably led the team in home runs, in my opinion. Right? 62 appearances, batted last year, 275, 11 home runs. So, yeah, he did.
So, 11 home runs.
And then this year.
And how many games? I wonder, how many games did he play?
Let's see if I have that right here. Don't have that in front.
Okay.
62 appearances as a freshman, and this past year, 26 games.
26 games. They play how many?
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they played 52 or not, but just say if he played the whole game,
you play the whole thing,
he's probably 20-plus home runs.
I think he would be.
Yeah.
20-plus home runs. 11 multi-RBI games in this season. Again, that's in 26 games of being played.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll say this too.
Yeah, that walk-off against South Carolina, if you remember.
Yeah, I do remember because I was at that game and I left.
Yeah.
And man, when he was out there, along with Keel and Lavalette, I think there was no question A&M had the best defensive outfield in the nation.
Well, look,
and that may include the major stuff, but I mean that was a heck of a. He's got a great glove too. That's what I'm getting at.
With football, we had questions. We still have questions, but all right, can they replenish the wide? Or can they get wide receiver? Can they get new wide receivers? Can they replenish the defensive line? These are all questions that we're about to find out. It looks like they did a good job there. We'll find out. For baseball, there's a lot of questions because we know that there was talent here, but pitching staff's going to look completely different, right? And can they replenish that? Maybe the guy that Kendall's alluding to is an ace pitcher.
Let's hope.
Let's hope. If not, maybe Jace Laviolette 2.0. Who's the next one? Who's the next Braden Montgomery?
I hope they get one.
Yeah.
They should be a good baseball team every year. And last year they had the ability to be a great baseball team, and they showed it in flashes, but they disappointed. So hopefully they're putting together the roster that's going to put A&M back, baseball-wise, where it should be.
Kurt on the YouTube page says, I wonder if Bronny has a girth certificate.
Oh, my.
Oh, And there's a Longhorn in the chat. Says
Okay.
His name is Daniel.
Okay.
Okay. Daniel.
Is he traveling tonight on a plane?
Well, he says, I'm a Texas fan.
Okay.
But the Aggies recruiting is looking scary early on this cycle. That's the truth.
Well, I've always said this. I remember having this conversation. Gabe and I used to talk about the recruiting in SEC and all these things. Texas A&M should recruit well every year. Texas should recruit well every year.
Mm-hmm.
And now that there's there's going to be money to be paid, they even more should. If for no other reason, and there's other reasons, but if for no other reason is we live in an amazing state for athletics. And there's so many really good, high-quality football players in our state that Texas and Texas A&M always should recruit well.
Yep.
Now, Elko might be taking it to another level, and let's hope so.
One of the folks on the message, or excuse me, on the YouTube page did say that Elko did have Terry Price, and he doesn't have him anymore. Yes, we recognize, and that was a huge, huge loss.
And we wish, like everything, that Terry was still with us.
Yes.
But he's not. You have to move on. And Elko's obviously still doing a good
But Elko's
job.
had different stops, right? I mean, it's not like A&M was his only stop. Notre Dame, he was pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I think he did a pretty good job at Duke.
He did a good job as a defense coordinator at Wake Forest.
To me, and everything about him, and I'm not just talking about the defensive line here. Pardon? Oh, I'm sitting on my mic. Everything about him that he has done so far, that he's done throughout his career, is what I want from a football coach. He's detail-oriented, culture guy, no nonsense, but a little bit of fun mixed in with that. Recognizes issues, does not go away from those issues, tackles them head on. He has mentioned the issues that this team had last year, while other coaches in different times have kind of like stayed away from that. He has said, look, this is what we need to fix, and we're going to fix it. And I appreciate that.
I do too. Now, of course, I applaud him. I admire him, like you said, to being able to say, look, because some coaches won't do that. Some coaches will tell you everything's fine or whatever. He said, this is an area where we are lacking, and we're going to get better at it. And I like that.
Yep.
But you know what I like even better?
Winning.
If he fixes that issue.
Yeah, sure. It's one thing to recognize the issue that we all see.
Right.
It's another thing to have the right plan in place and the personnel in place to fix it.
I agree. And that's ultimately what defines or what determines success or not.
Yep. All right, we'll hit a break here. Athlon's got their top 25 OB. We'll discuss that on the other side. Where does A&M fall in that? Okay, we'll talk about that on the other side. If your wheels have been damaged by the potholes in towns, the curbs, the mediums, go see the experts at Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. Don't replace the damaged rims, repair them. The experts there at Brazos Valley Wheel Repair have over 2 decades of experience. They road force balance all their wheels to make sure you get the smoothest, most safest possible ride, and they want to make sure that your wheel returns back to perfectly working, safe conditions. They have experience in repairing every kind of job there, so let them take care of you. If your wheels are in good shape but you need a fresh new look, they can take care of you there as well with a unique custom look. If you need new tires, they can take care of that as well. Bring in your new tire quote from any other place that sells tires, and if they can't beat it, they're going to give you $20. Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. What you need to do is go online and find them, bvwheelrepair.com, bvwheelrepair.com, or in person, 508 Burnett Street in Bryan. That's 508 Burnett Street in Bryan. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olson wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. All right, we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance, Studio Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. It don't matter, but I'm just going to read it because it's news.
Okay.
Do you know where A&M is on Athlon's top 25?
I don't, but you're telling me they're in the top
20? They're in the top 25.
I'm going to guess they have them somewhere around 22.
Very close, 19.
Okay. 19.
19 A&M, and I'll read you some of the teams around them. It's interesting, like, I forget who else I was talking to on the show, but at this point of the offseason, I have talked myself into why a team's going to be terrible, why a team's going to be great, multiple different ways and times. Like, recently, I feel like there's been an upswing for Oklahoma getting a lot of love, and I'm trying to figure out the why. I understand John Mateer might be really good, and if they fix their offense, sure. I still think they have a very hard schedule. But, you know, that Oklahoma's a team that's right around A&M on here at number 20. But I'll give you the list. According to Athlon, the number one team in the country is your
Texas.
most hated rival, Texas. Okay? Maybe. I have a lot of questions about them, but okay.
Let me see. Number 2, they're probably going to have. Everybody always puts Georgia, right?
Nope, not Georgia. A Big Ten team.
Either Penn State or Ohio State.
Penn State.
Penn State. Yeah.
Penn State, number 2. Number 3.
Clemson.
Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Number 4 is a team from the SEC that will host Texas this year.
Georgia.
Number 5.
Clemson.
Correct. You're good at this game. Number 6, a team that A&M's going to face.
LSU.
Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Number 7, another team A&M's going to face.
LSU.
There you go. Number 8, a team that A&M used to face all the time in the SEC.
Yeah, all the time. Let's see, who would it?
Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Number 9, Oregon.
Oregon.
Apparently there's drama with Oregon. I'll have to investigate that later.
Evan Stewart's out for the year, right?
I did see that. Hate to see that for him, but he's not our guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wish anybody to get hurt.
I actually liked dealing with Evan. Like when I interviewed him, he was very polite. I just wish he would have stayed at A&M. Number 10, the Miami Hurricanes.
Okay.
You believe in Carson Beck?
Kinda.
I'm a kinda with him too.
Yeah.
Kind of like all
this.
Georgia quarterbacks. Kinda.
I think he's better than. Remember how much Tyler Van Dyke was always hyped up, and I never bought that.
Yeah.
I buy Carson Beck from the bargain bin.
Clearance?
You know, I mean, I think he's okay. Again, what was he with Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, and what was he without them?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you put good players around him, he really capitalizes on it. But I don't know if, some quarterbacks make guys better around him.
Sure.
I don't know if he's that guy.
You don't know if he's that guy. Number 11 on this top 25. Again, kind of like Oklahoma. I'm seeing a lot of love for the Florida Gators.
Okay.
Another team A&M is facing.
I'm a wait and see on Florida.
Number 12. Another team that A&M's facing. Another one.
Auburn? I don't know. Auburn, that'd be way too overrated for Auburn.
A team that beat A&M, a team that Le'Veon Moss got hurt against.
South Carolina. Another one.
Number 13.
And I think I respect that South Carolina quarterback for sure. That's a rebuilt offensive line. They got their 2 tackles back, but that's a largely rebuilt defense.
They don't have Rocket Sanders.
They don't have that.
Faison, their running back, who they're excited about, has not been cleared yet.
And even if he's cleared, is he as good as Rocket? Maybe. Their receivers they're okay. Their leading receiver last year was their tight end, and he's gone. And the defense was so good last year. Again, three of those guys were high picks, just like A&M. Now they have the kid who's a 5-star freshman last year, and he's back at end, but both their linebackers are gone. They had big losses in the secondary. If they're as good on defense, then Shane Beamer, there will be, as they were last year. I mean, Shane Beamer, there'll never be a question about him again.
Number 13, K-State.
Kansas State, okay.
14, Arizona State.
Boy, they're putting a lot on Levitt.
15, Michigan.
They're putting a lot on, what's his name, Underwood? No, it's not Underwood.
Bryce Underwood.
Is that his name? Yeah. Bryce Underwood. It is Underwood. They're putting a lot on
President Underwood from the Kevin Spacey show.
He has a good barbecue joint out in Brownwood.
Number 16. I'm sure you're gonna be excited about this one. Indiana. I don't know enough. I don't know.
Well, their coach wins. Googling.
Kurt Cignetti.
Googling.
However you say it. 17. The Fighting Illini.
Of Brett Bielema.
The Bielemas.
Yeah, it sure is a lot easier in the Big Ten than it was in the SEC, isn't it, Brett?
Number 18. Ole Miss.
Well, I'll say this: they have a good coach.
They do. I think Lane Kiffin's a pretty darn good coach. He's got some issues, there's no doubt, right? Like, pretty darn good ball coach.
He's a really good offensive coach.
Yeah.
And then you got your Aggies at 19.
Yeah. Number 20 is the Oklahoma Sooners. 21, the Joey Aguilars. Tennessee. 22, the Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Okay. They got their Joey Lawrence, right?
Yeah. Number 21, Iowa State.
Okay. Cyclones.
24, SMU.
Yeah. I mean, hey, they were good last year. I'm sure their quarterback feels like, if he's still around, I think he's still there.
I believe Tyler Van Dyke transferred there.
Really? Well, maybe he's not there. The black kid that took over, but he had a horrific game against Penn State.
Will you double check Tyler Van Dyke to SMU? I want to make sure I'm right
What
about
is that kid's name?
And then 25, Boise State.
Yeah, Boise State's always there. What was that SMU quarterback's name? Why can I think about
Kevin
that?
Jennings.
Kevin Jennings. Is he still around?
I think he's still around.
I mean, he's good. What happened in the Penn State game, that was kind of a aberration to what he was.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good quarterback. And if Tyler Van Dyke did transfer there, I think he's going to be watching a lot.
Yep.
Because Kevin Jennings should be their guy. He's a good player.
Well, but if I remember correctly, wasn't Brett Lashley at Miami with Tyler Van Dyke? Pretty sure he was as his offensive coordinator.
Well, you know what? He was at SMU with Kevin Jennings.
He was. And then 20 and 21, he was.
Yeah, he's at SMU.
He's at his OC. So.
I don't know.
Two different types of quarterbacks.
Well, you know what my thoughts are on Tyler Van Dyke, so we don't have to revisit those. But
you would take him as your backup quarterback.
Yeah, I just wonder why, if he's such hot stuff, why would he go to SMU? Except for, he used to play with that coach. But
Kevin Jennings slotted as the starter with Van Dyke as the backup.
So here was a guy that a couple of years ago they were hyping him up as a first-round draft choice and a Heisman Trophy contender, and he's going to be content to be the backup at SMU. Sounds like that Buchanan guy knew what he was talking about.
Well, he did have a devastating injury last year.
Okay. I don't want anybody to get hurt.
Against Alabama, and it was his knee, right? I think it was a terrible knee injury. So that does take about a year to recover from. He's got a great relationship with the head coach, and SMU was pretty good last year.
They were. I mean, they almost.
Who was their starter for Preston Stone? Right, he was the starter to start the year.
Yeah.
He ended up transferring to Northwestern. So.
But Kevin Jennings he's a really good quarterback.
He was a good quarterback. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back and close out the Go Hour. Right now, when it comes to telling your family story, you trust one person to do it in a documentary form. That's Chance McClain and Heritage Films. When it comes to your ranch, you want to bottle that moment as well. If you've got a ranch, you know how important it is to your family. Agricultural families understand something that sometimes city folks miss, and that is life moves in seasons, and each one matters. Farm and Ranch Films is the newest offering from Heritage Films. They bottle those moments for you for the next generation and the generation after that. They look at how your operation was built, and they understand the principles that it was built on, so you can pass those thoughts to the next generation. Chance McClain and his team don't just do interviews. They create cinematic legacies with Netflix-quality production, from daily routines to once-in-a-lifetime moments. He is the very best at telling stories. I trust him. He did our family. He can do your family as well. Visit yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, and visit the section Farm and Ranch Films, or call them up, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. Hey everyone, David Nuño and Olin Buchanan and OB. Typically we start off the show in this section and we call it the Holistic Planning Cool
The cool zone. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
What do we know about holistic planning?
Well, a lot of cool stuff. For instance, holistic planning can help you with your investments.
I love that.
They can help you with your taxes. So
I don't like paying taxes.
You can get that money from your investments and they keep it. They'll help you keep it away from the government.
Yep.
Not all of it, but more of it. And then they'll even help you with your estate planning. When you're old like me, you got to make sure some of that money you made is there for when you want to retire and just enjoy the rest of your life.
You want your estate to be planned. But they also do something else.
Yeah, well, if you are like, say, a sports fan and you've always wanted to.
Everybody watching us, right?
Yeah. And you want to always dream of being an owner, well, in a certain way you can, because they will broker the deal for you to invest in pro sports.
Yeah, what you need to do is check out investinprosports.com. That's where you can get all the information if you want to invest in a team. I don't know what team. He'd probably try to buy the Cowboys. I'd try to buy a lot of the Houston teams. Whatever it may be, investinprosports.com. It is holistic planning, and we love hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. Write this down, OB.
Write this down.
979-693-1150, because as a reminder, the final segment of the program is at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, we're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way.
Which one would you choose?
If it's Double Days, I'm probably going pizza rolls.
Okay.
So, here's the facts about pizza rolls. It's like a chip, right? You can't just have one. The other day, we had our intern lunch.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to have one. I had 2.5.
Dang, that's like,
yeah.
That's like falling off the wagon for you.
I punished myself afterwards, though.
He's the only guy I would know that would go to Double Dave's and say, can you make me some broccoli rolls? Instead of the pepperoni, just put in some broccoli.
You want to put a little, why you say that?
Because you're the only person I've known that's ever ordered broccoli with chicken wings.
At a sports bar?
At a sports bar.
Hey,
Oh, of course, look at you and look at me.
but there's a reason, OB. I pick my battles. I can't have bad battles all day. If I know that later that evening we're going to eat press box food, which includes popcorn and whatever fried chicken thing that they're going to give us, then I've got to, earlier in the day, take a step back.
We're on our way to Mississippi State, I think. No, that might have been Alabama. So, Ava,
know where it was.
are you going for the large pizza or the pepperoni rolls?
Oh, I don't know. Probably. I don't know.
It's not that hard a question.
I'm not a big
B.
pizza girl.
Oh,
Well, are you a big pizza roll person?
Not really. I mean, I'll eat them.
Did you try it the other day?
Yeah, I've had them.
Okay, so did you like it?
Yeah, it was good. It's just not like
That's
if
just
I'm
not your go-to.
Yeah, if I'm going somewhere else, that's not what I'm gonna get.
Yeah, she's thin too. She's not like she's like eats more like you than like me.
So you're saying I'm thin?
Yeah, you're
That's
somewhat.
kind of like a slap in my face.
Well, I don't mean
Just
fit.
kidding.
How's that? Fit and fat. In fact, that should be if we
The
ever
name
have
of our
a-
show?
Yeah, fit and fat.
Hey, welcome into the Fit and Fat Show. OB and Nuño.
Yeah, obese and Nuño.
Anyway,
So
Ava, write this down. Don't ever do this segment again.
Okay.
I'm kidding. What do you have for us?
Going to A&M softball. Yesterday, the Aggies picked up former Oklahoma outfielder Maya Bland. Miss Kay Nagley posted yesterday on Twitter, the incoming junior has primarily served as a pinch runner, but had some big moments at the plate when given the opportunity. She hit a .250 in just 32 bats, including 2 game-winning home runs. Her Instagram caption when she posted it was, "Didn't leave the red behind, just upgraded. #Aggieland."
I would imagine, even if she's only been primarily a pinch runner, she's probably a really good offensive player. She wouldn't have been in Oklahoma in the first place.
I agree. They know what they're doing there.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they're not going to recruit bad players.
No. And by the way, I expect Patricia Ford to have an incredible 26. I do. And I'm going to tell you,
do too.
you want me to tell you my why?
Why?
Because getting to know her as I have in the studio over the last couple of years, when something, like when she's got a challenge, she goes all in. Like she's like, all right, I'm going to fix this. And this is going to be our team's mantra. We're going to go. And this is what we're going to do. This year was a huge disappointment. No doubt.
It's kind of like having 2.5 pizza rolls and then come back for redemption.
You wake up at 4:45 in the morning, you get your run in. Did you run this morning or work out?
I didn't because I had a bad night.
Oh, sorry. You need a hug?
No.
You're good?
Yeah, I'm good. I just didn't run because I had a bad night.
Anyway, I expect for Tricia and company to have a great. I do. It's kind of like what I said about Elko. Everything she's done, I sign up for. And look, when they're our coach, I look more at the rosy than I do at the negative until I don't have to look at the, like, there was a point with Jimbo that I was all in, and then I wasn't all in anymore. And it wasn't the day before he got fired. It was a year and a half before he got fired. And by the way, with Jimbo, and I don't want to go back to Jimbo too much, but with Jimbo, I still think it could have worked. But anyway.
It absolutely could have worked. He just got lazy with his coaching staff hires and support staff hires, and there you go. And not allowing Bobby Petrino to put in an offense.
Yeah.
Could have worked.
If Bobby would have been able to put in his entire offense, what does that year look like?
I think he probably had at least a win or two. I mean, what did they win that year? 8?
7-5.
7-5. Probably win another win or two.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have beat Ole Miss anyway if Max Johnson doesn't throw an interception on 1st and goal.
Yeah. OB, thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate you. When we come back here on TexAgs Live, John Harris. We'll chit-chat with John. I'm going to ask him, you're the GM of a college football team. Tell me how you go into the transfer portal, how you do your homegrown talent, what's your balance. We'll get Johnny's answer. I'm sure he's got something. It is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
All right, guys, let's talk about some new partners. Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. They're Aggie owned and operated. They are an mobile IV hydration company that was founded back in 2024. I met with Sheldon and Danny over the last week, and they're awesome people. They really know what they're doing. They're proud to serve Bryan College Station with awesome services like IV hydration, Botox, and even some weight loss options. Whether you're looking for a quick boost of hydration or dehydration preventative, they can tailor an IV cocktail specific to your needs. And on a busy week, and I know some of you guys might be partying a little bit too much. If that's the case, an IV can be one of the easiest ways to ensure you're receiving all those necessary vitamins and minerals that make you feel better. Their overall mission is to bring a more personalized and accessible wellness option to the broader range of clientele here in the Bryan College Station and Brazos Valley area. To book an appointment or inquire about it, just call them up or text them. 979-217-1561. Again, it's Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. Check them out. It's our friends at Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. Before I have to come to you, hey, TexAgs Live, we got to go to you, Ava Davis, because we're working on getting John Harris on the program. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2 of the program. John Harris said he'll join us here in a minute, so we'll get to Johnny once we can. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Ava Davis.
Another softball update. After 3 seasons, Missouri left-hander Taylor Pannell is choosing to spend her senior season here in College Station. After posting a 2.5 ERA in 129 and 2/3 innings pitched in 84 appearances. Taylor says, "I'm expecting to have so much fun. I want to go out with having no regrets. There are some personal goals I would like to accomplish. I want to help take this team to a World Series. I want to end my career knowing I did I want to end my career knowing that I did everything I wanted to do and just enjoying the moment."
Thank you, Ava. Appreciate you. We go to the Puppies Catering Hotline. We're joined by FootballTakeover.com founder, Houston Texans sideline reporter, John Harris. Johnny, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, David. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. So I learned something about you today.
Oh, God. Okay.
So we have our group of interns in the back that prepare show notes just to make sure that whoever's on the show has got some extra information just in case they need it. I found out this morning, and I'm kind of kidding here. I hope this intern doesn't take it offensively, that you played at the University of Texas.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And,
nice.
Yeah. And you play for the Philadelphia Eagles as well. I didn't know this about you. I'm kidding. I don't remember that John Harris who played for Texas, but I'm sure you do because you and Matthew Dawson are the two smartest people I know. Do you remember the John Harris that played at Texas in 2013?
Yes, I do. It was a while ago. And I can say once you see our pictures, we're definitely not the same person. So yeah, there's that. You know, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this story. So this goes back. It's about 20 years ago now. I was writing for College Football News. My buddy Pete Fiutak, and so I wrote at the time. Urban Meyer was at Bowling Green, and I was a big fan of what he was doing at Bowling Green. So I wrote some really nice, kind of glowing stories about the way they ran their offense, Urban Meyer, et cetera. And I realized, and at that time, you know, message boards were a big thing. And so when I posted my articles, I was just kind of curious if people read them. So I went to a Bowling Green fan forum or whatever, and they are killing me. I mean, absolutely destroying me. I'm like, man, I wrote the nicest article I could. Like, what the? I don't get this. So finally, one of the curators or one of the owners of the fan forum eventually emailed me. I didn't say anything. He eventually emailed me. He goes, man, I got to ask you, are you John Harris from the Toledo Blade? And I was like, no. I was like, I have nothing to do with Toledo at all. The story changed on me in a heartbeat. There was a guy that wrote for the Toledo Blade by the name of John Harris. And again, if you saw our pictures, you would realize we are two completely different people. And all of a sudden, it totally changed because Toledo is Bowling Green's biggest rival. And so all of a sudden, when they realized that was not Toledo Blade's John Harris, they loved me. And from then going forward, they were like, oh, he's great. Look at this great stuff he wrote about Bowling Green. But, man, when they thought I was Toledo Blades, John Harris, oh, they were killing me.
That's hilarious. So when I saw it this morning, I was like, I don't remember this John Harris, but okay. Hey, John, I'm gonna give you a personnel question. All right, let's say that you are Derek Miller, who's the GM for Texas A&M, or you're one of the GMs around the country, and you get to build a program. I want you to tell me what your methodology would be, homegrown versus transfer portal potential, short term versus long term. So, like, what would be your ideal split if you could? Because yesterday Elko had a thought. He said, 80% of teams in the playoffs last year were homegrown. So I kind of want you to kind of take me through what your vision of building a college football program would be in today's world.
Didn't agree with those numbers. I'm more of a homegrown draft guy. You know, people ask me that about, you know, in the NFL, you know, how should the, you know, teams be built? And I've always felt like you've got to build the house with your drafted players and your homegrown high school recruits. Like that's where it has to start. That's where your foundation has to be. And then once you get, you know, you think about it like building a house, you know, once you get the foundation, you know, done, you know, maybe you want some specialized windows because like me now, you live in Galveston and you need some storm windows and you can't find those, you know, out in the high school ranks. And so maybe you've got to go get a free agent, if you will, to add to the mix. And I kind of like the way that, you know, Nick Caserio has built and D'Amico Ryans have built the Texans. That's the way they've gone about it. Now, the high money free agents, they get a lot of the attention. But to me, you've got to build that thing with the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5-star type players, but really kind of the 3 and the 4-star guys, because those are the guys that you know are going to be seemingly around for 4 or 5 years. And that's got to be an even more so true foundation. Now, you got to have elite talent to win. I don't think that, you know, I'm not, you know, Eureka. I'm not saying anything that you don't already know. But if you're an established coach, I think that's the way you go about it, is you build your foundation with high school recruits, with drafted players. And then when you get to a point where the foundation is solid, then I think you can go out and you can sign a free agent here. You can go find this guy there. I think if you rely on one or the other, I think it's just like kind of anything. Like you rely on one or the other, you're missing out, because if it's just all high school recruits, well, like Clemson, and Clemson gets a lot of really good high school recruits, but there have been times where Clemson's really a player or two away, and you're like, man, you could go into the portal and go find a couple guys that you recruited that you could bring in. Well, why don't you do that? The flip side of it is if you're always, like I think Ole Miss is probably a great example, and if you're always going out and getting free agents, what kind of chemistry, camaraderie do you have in the program? What kind of buy-in do you have in the program? Do you truly have guys that are quote unquote all in, which you have to be in a college program? So to me, I think you have to lean high school recruiting, and that's where the foundation is. And then you supplement once you feel like, yeah, we're close, but we need this piece, we need that piece. Now in college football, more than ever, you can go find that piece. But to me, I want it to be, if it was priority, like, hey, we'd like, we got these two kids we recruited, one from Waxahachie, one from Denton, to play defensive end. I want these guys to be the guys. But if they're not, then I'm not going to sit here and let my job be on the line because I won't go sign a transfer from TCU or a transfer from Washington State because I'm being stubborn. I've got to make sure that I put the best team. And so I think in theory, that's what I would like to do. But if I know my job is on the line and I got to win a few games, or I'm getting kicked out by the alumni, I might lean a little bit more towards, hey, I might need some more experience. I might need to bring in a free agent or two, especially at quarterback. If my quarterback is not getting it done, I look at Oklahoma. I think Brent Venables, his job's on the line. They've gone in the SEC. It didn't go exceedingly well. Yeah, they beat Alabama, but it was not a really good Oklahoma program last year, especially offensively. So what they do, they went to the portal, and they went and got John Mateer out of Washington State. And now you feel like, hey, man, maybe Oklahoma's got a little something here with Mateer, who they hope is better than Jackson Arnold, who they recruited. And so when it didn't work there as a recruit and going the high school route, the high school recruiting route, they went and got a guy that's established himself in the college game. They took a different tack. So I do think it's still different strokes for different folks. Different teams, obviously, are at different phases. If you're a playoff team, hey, man, let's or you feel like you're a playoff team, hey, let's push. Maybe we can add a piece here, add a piece there from free agency. But if you're a program that just, I think, building the foundation, getting it back up to, starting blocks, if you will, I think you have to do that based on high school recruiting and build your foundation there. I think I probably would go to start probably 75-25, and then kind of adapt and adjust as my team and program adapted and adjusted to the new world of college football. But that's probably the way I would go, David.
Johnny, I want to talk about the A&M offensive line. They were pretty good last year. I think they're going to be pretty darn good, if not elite, this year. One of the things Coach Elko said yesterday when speaking to the Fort Worth Coaches Night, he says, we're really excited about the veteran experience we have in that group. And he feels that they could be a real elite force. So what do you think about the A&M offensive line and what it could do for Marcel in year 2 and for these running backs and wide receivers?
Yeah, I think it's one of the better offensive lines in the country, honestly, just from a talent perspective. I think Trey, when I think about offensive tackles in college football, I don't go far on the list until I get to Trey Zoom being a potential NFL left tackle, potentially, could move over to right tackle. But I think he is a guy that plays in the NFL for a long time. Spencer Fano from Utah is my top tackle. I think the next best tackle is a sophomore who's not eligible, the kid out of Colorado, Jordan Seaton. But then I think Trey is definitely in the team picture of who's next. And I think that, up front, if, Chase and 55, whose name I always get backwards. Yeah, I think if those three guys stay healthy, then I think you have an opportunity to have an offensive line that could be I mean, you think about, I mean, in the SEC, it could be the best. You know, LSU's got to reset their whole thing. I think Alabama's will probably get the most acclaim because of Caden Proctor, Jaden Roberts, you know, two guys that are much ballyhooed. They've played a lot of games together. Parker Brailsford is going to get a lot of love at center. And so I think Alabama will probably be the line that's thought of as the best in the league. But I think A&M's is right there with it. And I think when your team is – it's the right way of saying this. And when your team is essentially led by your offensive line, I think that it adds an aura to your game and to your team, I think. And I think when you don't have it, I think it takes away. You can be really, really good at a lot of, hey, we got the best secondary in the country. You know, we got the best wide receiver in the country. But if your offensive line is just kind of a sieve, I don't know that you carry that much respect as a team. But I think when your offensive line is really, really good, those are the first guys off the bus, if you will. It just adds, you know, this kind of sort of vibe and aura to your team, and everybody gets behind that. You know, wide receivers, tight ends talk a little bit more trash because, well, you know, those five guys up front are going to kick everybody's ass. So we got no problem with that. So I think those three guys, all have NFL futures, and not just, well, they'll play in the NFL. I think they can be really, really good in the NFL at a number of different positions. I think Trey can be one of the best tackles in the country this year. And if those guys play at that level, now, you and I both know over the last couple of years, those guys have missed time for various reasons. That can't happen. They've got to be 12 games solid, and then obviously postseason, you play through whatever you got going. But I think they can set the tone offensively. And because that running back stable is as good as it is, I think they can absolutely be special running the football. And that in the SEC, as you know, David, it's not the end all be all. Look, you've got to have balance in everything that you do. But if you lean towards being a team that can really physically make a statement up front, I think you can do what you want in the SEC, especially because I do think even though you lose some guys up front, I still think you can be really good on the defensive side of the ball as well. So I think A&M's offensive line, to me, that's the key to their season, those guys staying clean and healthy up front. And if they are, it's experience, talent, all comes together, and they have an opportunity to do something really, really special. And you and I talked about this. We looked at the schedule, and there's that run of games. There's like 3 games in a row. They go on the road. Individually, you look at them and go, hey, they can win each one, but winning all 3 is going to be tough. But to win all 3, what you have to be able to rely on is that offensive line and the run game up front. And I think that's what A&M has an opportunity to do. And you throw in Marcel's ability to hurt you running the football. All of a sudden, play action becomes easier. Some RPO stuff becomes easier at that point. And you can really dictate the game the way you want with that front. And those 3 games are really when that front has to kind of take over as the identity of the entire team. And I think they've got the talent and the experience to do it.
Talking about John Harris here on TexAgs Live. All right, Johnny, I'm going to ask you a Marcel question, but not through a Marcel point of view. I want to just talk about the tools that he has at wide receiver and how that could help him. And regardless of what you think about talent, one of the things that I thought about last year's team was they had a hard time getting separation. It feels like this group will be able to get separation. They don't have the size of a Noah Thomas in their three core wide receivers, although Amari Niblack, tight end, could be that guy potentially. But KC, Mario, if it's Terry Bussey, whoever it may be, this group, I feel like separation is going to be a big difference. So how does that affect Marcel and his development?
Well, I think when you have guys, especially in college, that get the separation that those guys can, you don't have to be as completely accurate with the football every single time you throw it. I think Marcel can be accurate with the football. Being precise, that takes a little bit more, where you place the ball. But you don't have to be perfect when guys have got 2 yards of separation. What you have to be able to do, though, is give your guys that have some explosive abilities the ball where they can catch it and run. They don't. It can't be something where you got a guy running the shallow. Say you have KC run the shallow, who's completely explosive and so fun to watch, and throw the ball behind him. He's got to stop, catch it, get his momentum. Marcel's got to do things like put the ball in front of them, give them something that they can catch and run and go. That's the difference between, a catch and run being 4 yards and potentially being 40, because you're throwing it to guys that can really go get it, that are that explosive. And I love me some KC Concepcion. I mean, look, he played at NC State. I've got a lot of family connected to North Carolina, so I watched the North Carolina schools a lot. And I remember last year in that first game, they played Western, I think it was Western Carolina. I know it was Western Carolina, but it's like they won that game completely and solely because of Concepcion, like completely. Like they've got no shot. They're not doing anything, but then he makes plays that only he can make, and the game turns on a dime. And to me, if I'm building a team, look, what I love, like we have with the Texans, a bunch of 6'4" dudes that can go up and get it. Yeah, and they can run, like Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, Justin Watson. They're like 6'4" plus, but they can all run. And CJ's a ball placement aficionado. Like he can put the ball in a really small space. But to me, I would love guys that get separation, because it makes the throw that much easier for a quarterback, and especially in college, that getting that separation is that much easier, because obviously it's a step down from the NFL. But when you have guys that can have that little bit of shake, little bit of explosiveness, and they can get 2, 3, 4 steps on a DB, quarterback doesn't have to be perfect. He just has to be right. Okay, my guy's open. Just get him a ball that he can do something with. And I think that helps Marcel more than anybody even has an inkling. I mean, that helps quarterbacks so much. Oh, man, that makes that throw so easy. I don't have to throw this ball into a tiny, small box because my guys can't get separation. And it's funny when you said it, when you started that question, David, the first thing I thought about was, well, dudes couldn't get separation last year. Like, it was very rare when there wasn't seemingly a DB kind of hanging all over a wide receiver. And then you kind of led to it. These guys can get separation. And I think that ends up being something that builds the confidence of a quarterback. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to make sure I make the right throwing decision. Okay, that guy's boom, get it to him and let him do the work. I don't have to do all the work. I'm going to pull the ball and run enough that I don't have to be the superstar and throw. Just get it to my guys and let them do the work. And I think A&M's got a receiving core different than what they've had in the past, seemingly, yet going to be as dynamic as you could possibly want.
Great stuff, Johnny. I appreciate you, sir.
Love you, brother. See you, man.
Hugs. That's my guy, John Harris, footballtakeover.com, and, of course, Houston Texans sideline reporter. When we come back, we're going to talk to a 10-time national champion, Pat Henry, in studio to celebrate the men's national championship and how close the women got and how close they may be getting in the next couple of years. Right now, though, duck camp, whether you're chasing birds at sunrise, casting the line from the bow, or sweating it out during a scorcher at Kyle Field, duck camp's got the gear to keep you cool, comfortable, and looking sharp no matter what or where the day takes you. They're awesome. Their performance-driven outdoor apparel is made for the blind, the boat, and even those early Aggie football games when there's only one thing hotter than the scoreboard, and hopefully it's your awesome gear, right? They've got the lightweight performance hoodie. They've got the scout shorts. They've got the essential hoodie and the lightweight fishing shirt built for the flats, but clean enough for tailgating. Whether you're gearing up for a hunt, a fishing trip, or just trying to survive September in College Station, it is Duck Camp, and they've got you covered from head to toe. Check it all out at duckcamp.com. That is duckcamp.com. Built for the outdoors, designed for everything else. It's Duck Camp. Been planning this interview for a while. Welcome back to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It's time for our weekly conversation with Pat Henry, brought to you by the Brazos Running Company, your local Aggie-owned specialty running store, your local source for Viore athletic wear, duck camp apparel in Century Square, below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. Coach Henry, I'm going to tell the folks a bunch of what they have going on. They have a massive warehouse sale, weather permitting, including some carbon-plated shoes, 13% off shoes, including the closeouts, 20% off of apparel, socks, buy 3, get 1 free, 10% off of Turtle Box while supplies last. Mike is enjoying that 13th anniversary, so make sure you go to the Brazos Running Company. How are you?
The best thing about that group over there is he hires some young people that understand how to talk to you about what shoe is good for you.
Mm-hmm. So sometimes there might be somebody in the office that makes fun of me for talking about, I go to Brazos Running Company because my gait changes. Yeah. I'm not a runner like your group, but I try to stay, and sometimes I'm more of a left toe striker or big toe striker. Sometimes I'm a midfoot striker. It was weird how and they find it and they put me in the right shoe to take away any pains.
Yeah, I mean, and a shoe can dictate some pain. You have the wrong shoe, you're in trouble.
Yep.
You're supinator or pronator or whatever you are. You gotta make sure you're getting the right shoe, and those guys will help you.
And if you're in a shoe for too long,
yep,
it'll show up as well. So congratulations!
Yep.
I want to get all into it. Your 10th national title at A&M. Just first off, I know how you operate. I brag about you all the time. I was telling you at the break. You're already thinking about next year, right? That's how you operate. Let's kind of go back and just what did it feel like?
Yeah, I mean, the joy I get from athletics today is when it's just about to get started and when it's over, and conversations that you have on both sides of that competition. I really enjoy that aspect of athletics today, and the young people are no different than they were 35 years, 40 years ago. They're different in a lot of ways, but they're not different in a way of competitiveness. They want to win, and it takes certain people to win. You got to find those people. Mm-hmm. Those people are different. You said you had a mod yesterday.
Yeah.
Mod can't run that fast, but he can.
But he can
because he thinks he can, and he's got a heart to do it. And Ahmad is one of those kids that you challenge him, and he's going to take the challenge. He's too little to run that fast. He has a bad posture. His head goes the wrong direction. He does a lot of things, but boy, his heart is big time.
Yeah, I want to get into some specifics. So your 10th national title here at A&M, 5th outdoor title. The women placed 3rd, and you now have 37 national titles in your career. I'm ready for 38. I'm already ready for it. But it's not easy.
No. Winning at my sport, people will say, well, it's track. People don't understand how competitive this sport is. It's no different than any other sport we have. The competitiveness in the SEC, the competitiveness in these 4 conferences now, the competitiveness across the board has always been tremendous. I mean, you're going to see a lot of these guys that we have to compete against, and a lot of the people we have right here are all going to be Olympic caliber people. That means they're the best at what they do. So it's a tough sport to win at. I've been fortunate enough to be able to surround myself with great assistants and that work hard, and we spend a lot of time doing what we do. And you got to recruit the right people, not just the right athlete, the right people sometimes. So
you've said many times it comes down to the 4x400.
Yep.
It came down to the 4x400. So I want to go before.
Yeah.
Ahmad gave us a little perspective of what the conversations were like. So it's right before. What are you thinking? What is your message to the group?
They have a responsibility to each other. They've worked with each other all year long. They've worked really hard. You got to look in each other's eyes right now and know what you're going to try to accomplish. Don't have to talk an awful lot about it. you got to be able to have this same conversation when it's over. You got to look in each other's eyes and tell each other, hey, I lined it up. I did what I could do today. I did everything. I took it as far as I could take it. I couldn't take it any further. If you can do that, then we have an opportunity to be successful.
And they were.
We're from Texas A&M. We're not from somewhere else. We're from Texas A&M. Get your chest up in the air. Let's go.
So as the race is unfolding, are you seeing things developing and and you already have a lot of faith in your runners? So are you saying this is going to happen? I feel good about it.
Yeah, I think we have. Some people have maybe 3 that can really run, or 2 that can really run. I'm blessed to have, I think, 4 that can run pretty darn good. And so if you can stay close, then each one of them has an opportunity to be successful. And it's the one before them on the relay. It's the one before them that's responsibility. Keep it close. Keep it close. Give me an opportunity, and then I know how some of our people are going to respond. Not all of them. We always got a question mark in our leadoff leg at the national championships. I switched from one day to the next, from 2 days before, because I just felt like this guy was maybe ready to do something a little better than our leadoff leg, and he did, and he performed well. He didn't run the race the way I want him to run it because there's no race distribution, but he ran a good leg, and so he kept us close. And so then Cutler Zamzo, who runs second leg, Cutler can line it up, and he kept it close again. And then Kimar is as tough a guy as you'll ever run into. He doesn't act like it, doesn't talk like it,
but he is.
But you put a stick in his hand, and he is. And he gave Ahmad the opportunity to be successful, and then Ahmad took advantage of it. And then Ahmad, again, got beat right at the line, which he didn't want that to happen. I don't even know if he saw the guy, but he should have, So Ahmad wins it, which we got beat from me to you. We're outright champions. We don't tie, we outright. So it's close in a lot of areas.
It's so close.
The 400, he needed to be one spot up, and we do a little bit better. But JQ doesn't make it through the round. He jumped. The guy next to him moved, but still he moved. He moved as well.
But he's supposed to move when he sees him move, right?
That's exactly right. And the NCAA, we have some crazy, we have touch pads on the starting block, so they know if you lose pressure on that pad, you jumped.
Right.
We have video of every step that you take. We don't use video. It was obvious what happened. The guy next to JQ moved. We don't use video, and we have it, and they don't use it. USA Track and Field uses video. World Athletics uses video. Now the NCAA, as a result of this weekend, is going to start using video, it sounds like. So we're always a year off. They wouldn't have disqualified JQ if they'd have looked at the video.
Well, the way Bryce performed.
Bryce did a good job. Bryce is our guy that we get on probably every day. He's always a little bit late, or he's right on time. I can tell you, give some good stories about Bryce that I know you don't have time to, but he was ready to go on that day, and he had the best performance of his life. And actually, his performance made up about half of what JQ lost. So we were fortunate that he was ready to go at the best. Then JQ ran the new school record in the long hurdles, and it looked fantastic. So he fought back.
Women very close again.
Yeah, we couldn't have beat Georgia this year.
Could have finished second, I think you said.
No,
right?
we could have. We could have had we hit in a couple areas that we didn't. I think we have the ability to, but we've got to get a little older, a little more confident, have a little more who I am, understanding who they are. I think we have a couple on that team that Cameron Dixon, I think, is going to be a great one before she leaves here. But she wasn't this week. She was on the 4x4. She ran very, very well. But she's much more talented than what she showed.
I want to ask you about some of these individual national champions, Alexander, Sam, Winnie, just
big-time performances.
All season long.
Yeah. Winnie, she won it on her first jump. Boy, she put it out of sight. And the people, I mean, she has a lower back problem, and she kind of goes downhill a little bit right now. So that first jump needs to be her best jump. She did. She won it on her first jump. And a big jump. Sasha, in the pole vault. Joe Serra, our vault coach, did a tremendous job of passing at a certain time. You can pass if you don't want to attempt at that bar, you got to miss at that bar, and you want to pass to the next bar. You lose an attempt, but he passed to the next bar, and this guy didn't. And Sasha was over that last bar big time, and the other guy couldn't clear it, so he wins. And 1811 is a huge jump.
Yeah.
Just drive down 6 and look at how far, the height of the interstate bridges, and just think about standing on top of it and falling backwards off the top of it and landing on the mat.
One more thing that I want to get into, and we talked a little bit about it at the break, but just for our audience.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think makes you is you evolve over time. The landscape of college athletics is changing. It's changing weekly. We had the House settlement recently. There's so many different factors. Schools that get to take advantage of certain programs that we can't take advantage of here, certain situations. How do you, I mean, it's not even a how, like just you evolve. Where does that come from? Because you've been coaching a long time. I'm not going to say your age on the air, but you've done it, and it's still the elite of the elite. You're number one.
I don't know. I grew up in an athletic family, and my dad and grandfather just kind of, I don't know. You just grow up. I just grew up a certain way of being able to evaluate talent, first of all, which I think is probably something I've been blessed with. And then trying to help that talent get better. But you have to recruit talent that is competitive at this level, first of all. But change that has not changed. That is consistent from day one. If you can't evaluate talent, you're in trouble. And I would assume in every sport that to be, But yeah, change is demanded. I mean, look at around you. Yeah. You've changed. You had to. If you were working in the same studio you were working in 20 years ago, you wouldn't be successful at what you're doing. And, change is change. It doesn't make any difference, I don't think. I think that you have to be prepared for change.
Coach Henry, congratulations. Thank you, sir.
No, thank you.
Always
I
great
appreciate being able to coach here at Texas A&M has been a blessing. This is a tremendous place. And I have a great boss now. This one is a good one. And I think our department is on its way to doing some really good things. This is a good leader. He's gonna, and we have some good coaches.
We're blessed to have you, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
When we come back on TexAgs Live, Sophee Peterson, volleyball commit 27. Chit chat with her next on TexAgs Live. That was great, sir.
Thank you.
So late for this interview, I apologize. The volleyball world took notice when Sophee Peterson, the nation's top setter in the class of 2027, committed to Texas A&M. Jamie Morrison's building something special. Let's go to the Buppies Catering Hotline. We talked to Sophee here on the program. What's going on?
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate you. So let's start with why A&M. What was it about Coach Morrison and Texas A&M that made this the place for you?
I've been able to build great relationships with the A&M staff over the last 2 years, and just the people and the opportunity that Jamie's putting together. I'm trusting his vision, and I'm so excited.
Well, when you look at some of the players that are there right now, do you have any relationships with them? Do you kind of like envision yourself and what it could look like?
Me and Kendall Stowers are actually from the same club, and so I think that'd be pretty cool to get to play with her. And obviously, she's an incredible athlete. And then some of the upcoming 2026 teammates I'm really good friends with. So I'm very excited to build something at A&M.
Talk to us about your sophomore season in high school. You took Byron Nelson to a state championship, a 6A state championship. Take us through that amazing journey. Was it 40-1? I think you all went.
Oh, it was definitely a great season. We had a blast. I mean, all of us were best friends. We had great coaches, and I mean, it all came together. So that was a great opportunity and great experience.
I want to talk about your performance in the state championship game. Tell me if these stats sound right, all right? Because I found a couple different sources here. 42 assists, 13 digs. And just how do you stay so composed during those moments?
I think I've always been able to play at a high level, and I think that like pressure makes me perform. And in a big moment like that, I just wanted to do my best and help the team in whatever way I could.
When you look at what Jamie's been able to do these last couple of years at A&M, what is something that strikes you about their brand of volleyball?
I think Jamie's been able to do something in 2 years what it takes a lot of programs many more years. And I think just Jamie's experience and the athletes he has for himself, I think there's like A&M can only go up. I think there's very big plans for A&M volleyball.
When did that connection start? Was it when you got to A&M? Just take us through a little bit of like that moment where we're like, I'm really considering this school.
There's an opportunity for athletes to train at the National Team Development Program. And Jamie was the head coach of my training group for my age. And like the first training group I had with him, I was like, wow, he's pretty cool. And then I was like, I mean, A&M's close to my house. Like, let me go to camp. So that was 2 years ago. And I went to camp then. And then as we went to USA stuff, my relationship just kept building with Jamie. I went again, loved it even more. And I was like, this is where I want to be.
All right, here's the old man in me. I got to ask you about academics. What about A&M academically? Kind of like, what do you see yourself doing? What was it about A&M academically that kind of made you think this is the place for me?
I know A&M academics are outstanding, and I know there's very many resources too. And right now, I'm very interested in doing business, but I mean, I still have 2 years, so we'll see as that changes. But I'm very excited to not only have a good academic career and a good athletic career.
So you got 2 more years. Does that mean maybe 2 more state championships? Is that the game plan?
That's the plan.
Talk to us a little bit about the difference between high school and then club, because that, in other walks of life, soccer and other sports, like club is a grueling time. So talk to us about your club situation and how difficult it can be.
I'd say the biggest difference in club, we're playing with all girls our own age. And we're playing against the top teams in the nation every weekend, and we're able to really push ourselves really hard. And then when I go back to high school, playing at that high level in club, it kind of makes the transition easier, playing against the seniors and the girls that are older than you. So I'd say that would be the biggest difference, but I love both very equally.
Do you get to watch A&M when they play often?
When A&M comes to town, they played at SMU. It was fun. See them, and also I see them on my TV a bunch, so.
Well, how excited are you? I know it's a couple of years away, but just your excitement level for playing here.
I'm very excited. I think there's a huge opportunity, and already knowing some of the girls and having good relationships with them just makes me so excited just be around them and do college with them.
Sophee, we're excited about having you here in a couple of years, and we hope to see you around and get you back in studio at some point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sophee Peterson, 27th top setter, one of the best in the country, the best in the country. She'll be at A&M here real soon. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back. We'll get to some text messages and some thoughts. Right now, if your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, check out the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during marquee events held throughout the year. We're talking about All Aggie Hullabaloo, the gathering. They all welcome tens of thousands of guests, Aggie Ring Day as well. And there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities to get your brand in front of those attendees. And they offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand and get your brand in front of all those people. On-site presence is part of it, recognition and social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. It is, why did my voice do that? The Association of Former Students. And we're back. It's TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Got a couple texts to get into, but when the unexpected happens, whether car accident, property damage, or business liability, preparation matters. Rollo Insurance Group ensures that you are properly covered before crisis strikes. Their independent agents provide a consultation across all insurance types, giving you confidence that the details are being handled correctly. With 60 offices statewide and expert service all around the place, they are the place to take care of you. The true value of insurance becomes clear during those critical moments when you need to file a claim. Rollo agents will walk you through the entire steps of the process, advocating on your behalf when you need support the most. Don't wait until disaster strikes to discover gaps in your coverage. Reach out to Rollo Insurance right now. You can visit the website, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That's rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs, or call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. That is 888-44-ROLLO. It's Rollo Insurance. Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Ava Davis.
Yes, we have a text from PG in King Oaks, and he just wanted to say, what a well-spoken lady after hearing from Sophee Peterson.
She was cool, wasn't she?
She was great.
Yeah, she's going to be, we got to wait a little while, we got a couple years, but already one of the top players out there. Just a couple more years of seasoning, and then she'll be joining Jamie and company. What else?
Another text that came in from a 361 number. It says, Elko is going bananas on the 2026 recruiting class. But do you think it's a concern our class is not made up of majority kids that are from the great state of Texas?
I'm going to allow Bronny to answer that in recruiting country. I don't think it's a concern. Look, if A&M has a really nice season, I'm not going to say special season 10-2, but if A&M has a really nice season and continues to show growth, by the way, there's going to be a lot more Texas people that commit to A&M, right? That's still going to happen. But I don't think you have to worry. I think you have to worry when things go south, right? And things go great for the other programs. Other programs could have rough days too, right? While a lot of people are ready to say this is the best team in the country, this, and this, you got to go prove it. And I think A&M is on the right path. And if they just continue, if they just stay on the path they're on, this recruiting class will be fine if they're from Texas or anywhere else. All right, on the other side, recruiting country. This much I can tell you about recruiting country. It's going to start off as baseball country because we got to talk Cadence Sorrell with Mr. Ryan Brauninger. We'll talk about that and maybe some other news in the baseball world. We'll talk to him about that. And somewhere during that first segment, I believe a man by the name of Billy Liucci will join us to continue talking. But this will switch the conversation to recruiting. That and more. We'll get to your text messages at 979-693-1150. You are listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. We'll be back in a few. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for Recruiting Country, brought to you by American Momentum Bank. As you can see, Ryan Brauninger, and at some point, Billy Liucci will be joining us.
I don't think he's going to sit there. I think I'm going to have to move over.
Okay, we should probably hit a break before he gets here.
No, I'll just stand up and move over.
Okay, we can do that as well. Bronny, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Tomorrow and Friday, I will be in your chair hosting the show. And I think I want to host it using that microphone.
Why? You like to hold the microphones more?
Well, no, I just like if I have that microphone in front of me and a laptop open, I feel like I look like a real modern day podcaster / radio host.
We got to get you the big headphones, too.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that. Look, you have a face and a figure for TV.
Thank you.
I do not.
I think that's a compliment. I think. Yeah.
I just gave you a compliment.
Yeah.
Why, you can't take it?
No, but I feel like there's a left hook coming.
No, I saw you've gotten better at acting as well. Like you're an on-screen star.
Where did you see me act?
Well, in the here's Billy. But I thought it was really good acting in the fishing commercial that we released.
There was no acting. That was real fishing. On Bird Dog?
Yeah, the Bird Dog thing.
What was the acting? I'd like for you to specifically, because I'm sure Billy's going to have a take on this as well.
The scenes with your sons were great. That was not acting.
Christian and Cruz.
But with the hair and how the hair looked, that looked like that was done off camera to make you look like Lyle Lovett.
No.
Why would he want it to look like Lyle Lovett?
Why
For once, I'm going to kind of step in here, and normally I like a good, gang up and pick on somebody session. Those that knew me at Sugar Mill Elementary, Sugarland Junior High would probably concur, but this is not it. I don't think why would anyone intentionally try to look like that unless you're me with this ridiculousness?
So there's a story behind
this ridiculousness.
There is a story, but I think Billy knows the story, but I was wearing a Bird Dog hat, and we were going like 60 miles an hour, and my hat flipped off. So that's why part of the video, if you haven't watched it on TexAgs' Instagram account, you should. It's on our stories. But flew off. So I had to keep putting water in my hair to make it look normal, and it looked horrible. I know.
Well, I'm sure that you were giving them a little bit of leeway since they, pre-approved your lunch menu, grilled chicken and.
There was not grilled chicken. There was nothing. It was all seafood.
Fish, so he was okay.
Yeah.
Our good friend Chris Harrington, Fish Fix. So,
yeah.
Shall we start off with baseball for a moment?
How did you do that?
Blame it on
Nick.
Whoever made the coffee.
So can we talk Caden Sorrell and some baseball stuff to start real quick, and then we'll move into our baseball
I just wanted to say on Sorrell, like that was expected.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was nobody when you talk to folks close to the A&M program that were ever worried about Sorrell leaving. But it had been just asked so much by the fan base that, once I got confirmation yesterday that there's never been, he's been on vacation. He is also returning from that hamate bone surgery. And so he kind of settled back in for the summer and he's coming back. So I thought that we put that out. But again, I think it was more speculative on everybody else thinking what could happen where Sorrell was obviously well-intentioned to come back for a long time.
Well, and part of it, right, is just the concern / hand-wringing / paranoia. As soon as the season ended, I think there were two names at the top of their list that everybody they just wanted to hear that, and it was Gavin and Caden. And, like you said, it never, from anything you heard and anything I heard, it was never stressing whether or not either of those two guys were coming back. Yep. They were kind of all in from the moment the season ended.
And then monitoring potential announcement today.
Okay.
I do think they've gotten one of their targets over the line. They got to close on probably about a handful more. Kendall hinted at a big one. I do think they're close on another one. So I think they've gotten one in, and I think they're really, really close. Our friends in Austin trying to muddy the waters on the big one right here at the finish line.
Well, hopefully they can
Not
get it
surprising.
done.
Yep.
Not surprising at all.
So TexAgs Live tweeted out this a little while ago. The class of 26 commits in June, and it goes through the list. They've A&M recruiting has been on fire this month. The latest one, KJ Edwards yesterday.
Yeah, and I'll jump in real quick before Billy says his piece. But what I wanted to highlight is when you go through each of these recruitments, I think they highlight a different element of the recruiting machine over there across the street. And all in good ways. But it's particularly when I look at like Caden Johnson in the scouting department, he had 2 Power 4 offers as quarterbacks. Nobody else across the country was scouting him at another position until A&M jumped in. And now we're hearing that folks are scrambling to try to put something together to try to get him on campus and offer him. Sam Roseborough, I think, highlights the official visit experience because let's not forget, he had gone to Tallahassee for an official, come to A&M. Then he goes to Austin and commits to Texas A&M right after that official visit to Texas. So I think what A&M's doing in a lot of their areas on the recruiting machine over there are well-oiled and working really efficiently right now.
I think, and what you pointed out with each of those, it won't be the last time, even in this cycle, that we see that happen. In particular, I'm sitting there thinking of someone specifically when you talked about Roseborough. So it's repeatable, it's consistent. There are a lot of strengths over there, and to land KJ Edwards, let's dive into that and then go back. I guess, guys, I can't see you.
Hey, buddy.
I'm sorry, I'm not used to Bronny's just like.
I thought leaning forward would give y'all a clear line of sight.
We need to fix somehow. Well, y'all need
the
to
desk isn't curved enough.
Be the same way, not opposite, or opposite, not the same.
Dude,
so
his posture sometimes kills me.
What's wrong with my posture?
It's great posture.
Straight back Nuño. So
it's better than never mind.
Yeah, it's better than hunchback. I know.
When I walk, I hunch.
Do you?
I'm a hunch walker.
It's hard. And, we're on the computer, so especially my blind ass. Okay, so KJ Edwards, this was one that it surprised us yesterday in terms of when it happened. I don't think we didn't wake up yesterday unless you and Howell did. I don't think we woke up yesterday expecting a KJ Edwards announcement. In fact, I'm not positive Mike Elko woke up expecting it. But what they did know for a while, and what Howell and Bronny talked about for a while behind the scenes, tried to hint about, A&M was very much in the mix for KJ, way more so than people thought, and really sitting in a good position for quite a while with Edwards. And really, even when Hatton committed, right? You go all the way back to that, and it felt like they could end up getting both of these guys because there was a need there for more than one. The two were seemed like a fit in terms of styles, and Texas did a lot, and LSU did a lot to convince, I guess, the people covering them, and to convince both those fan bases that those were the two teams to beat. And I'm reading some of the Texas stuff here in the last few days, and they're saying that A&M made a late push, and they were all going to start talking about it. But A&M's been in there the whole time, the entire process. And I think LSU and Texas read the room a little bit wrong on that one, or underestimated A&M's ability in there, possibly because they had already had a running back come in.
Don't underestimate Trooper Taylor. I talked about that numerous times. I wrote it in our weekend recap after the 15 official visitors. My recap about KJ Edwards was like, yeah, on the surface, your brain says A&M has one of, if not the best running backs in Texas. It's going to make it really tough to land one of, or maybe the best running back in the state of Texas. Like, you just don't get those two guys in the same class. But you don't underestimate Trooper Taylor. That guy can really, really recruit. And if you, like, we were around him a lot at camp, and you see him interact with the players at camp and how hard he coaches and just his energy and stuff. And I'll tell you this, man, from day one, like Billy said, his sights were set on getting both of those guys. And, like, he made no qualms about it. This wasn't a surprise to Jonathan Hatton. When Jonathan Hatton committed, it wasn't a surprise to KJ Edwards. He's been open and honest with both of them. Like, you're my two guys. I'm going to go get both of you. And he did.
Yeah.
Well, and look, you're right. It is hard to do that. But year after year after year, we see it. Our subscribers see it. The listeners see it. Other programs do that. winning championship programs do that. They load up at a position to the point where you go, man, they can't take another D lineman. Now we should be good with that one because they got these two, and then they get that one. Same thing on the O-line. Man, I remember Mac Brown. There was a certain player that A&M was going to fight Texas for, and it was such a one-sided beatdown, and Mac was just grabbing all these offensive linemen. They may have signed 7 or 8 in the class. I think it was at least a half dozen. And then you're like, well, that 7th guy, A&M should be able to get because they got all these, and they went and got him.
Well, if you read half our message boards, the negative Nellies would convince you that that's going on right now.
Well,
and it could be further from the truth.
Let's get to that in a second. Because I want to go back. But when you're elite, you can do things like get the 2 unquestioned best running backs in the state of Texas. Trooper Taylor, like you said, that's an elite recruiter. He always has been his whole career going, as far back as when I started this. I remember, because that's a name the first time you hear it.
You know it.
You're like, oh, that's a unique Trooper Taylor. I've known about, just like a lot of people that are listening and that follow this stuff, from any Texas college, TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech, U of H, everyone's heard of Trooper Taylor, and they have for years and years. So he is an ace on this staff. I love the way Adam Cushing recruits to what they're looking for and what he wants, and he's got more tricks up his sleeve coming up. And then I think, I think they've got a Holman Wiggins at receiver. You're starting to see now the reason why he was hired at Alabama and did what he did, the reason why it was such a to-do when they got him. But I'm talking about on the offensive side of the ball. Okay. Yeah, I know who you're talking about too. But I think on the offensive side of the ball, I think he's got a really good recruiting staff on that side of the ball. And then we'll talk in a second when we talk about Arrington, because Jordan Peterson is starting to make a real name for himself.
Yeah. Can we go back to winning these one-on-one battles or one-on-two battles with our rivals, right?
Well, it's head-to-head recruiting wins, and like for kids that LSU and Texas really wanted. Texas, quite frankly, they spent a lot of time recruiting Sam Roseborough with their best recruiting pitch. They spent a lot of time on KJ Edwards with their best recruiting pitch, and A&M won out. And what a lot of people, and really I think they need to realize, is this is happening more often with Mike Elko. Like, you go back and look, especially the run-in. Let's just look at the defensive line in the last class.
Yeah,
Texas made massive pushes for Marco Jones, Chase Sims, and DJ Sanders. And for Sims and Sanders, that was all the way through signing day. Remember,
You're getting texts on signing day about Sanders from a baseball guy.
And so it's
wrong about that too.
But it's I think just because maybe A&M's recruit a little bit more nationally. It's been about split half and half between Texas kids and nationally. Like, they're winning battles for these national kids against their close rivals in the region. So the last, Roseborough and KJ Edwards only highlight that. Cam Hamill was a head-to-head win over Oregon. Like, you're beating premier programs for these guys.
Well, yeah, I do think, David, part of it is when it's national and it's coast to coast, the days of, and look, Texas is doing the same thing. The days of just pulling up these Texas top 10 and top 15 and saying who gets more off this list, A&M, Texas, or OU, because that goes back now a quarter century to when Bob Stoops got to Norman. You always had to include them. Who got more out of that group? Then you started seeing more and more of them go out of state. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, yeah, like you said, A&M's, they're going to start adding Texas kids a lot more frequently here in the next run of commits, I believe, when you look at some of the guys. But I think a lot of it with these national recruits is the fans, unless it's like a Brandon Arrington who's announcing tomorrow, everyone's gassed up to see what happens with him. People are over the moon excited to see who wins out of A&M at Oregon, and we'll talk about that in a second. But some of these lesser-known national guys, particularly the ones that A&M gets on campus and commits pretty early, there's just the fans haven't got the build up to really get to know and be emotionally invested. And so you don't see as much celebration. My point that I wanted to lean on is when you, Bronny, at defensive end, spit out some names that A&M's, Tank Jones.
Tristan Givens.
Tristan Givens, who I think the Aggies have an excellent shot with. Both of them, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Who else?
The Wilkes that was in from Wadley, Alabama this past weekend. Those are like your edge type players.
Yeah, and so when Jamarian Carlton from Temple goes and visits Texas, and then the Aggies cancel that visit, just kind of seeing the picture of would it be best to bring him in if he's that locked in with Texas, and also, oh, by the way, instead of melting down and panicking on the message boards and housing a coaching staff that's putting together a top 5 class, if not higher, maybe take a beat and go, where does he rank, even though he's top in Texas, where does he rank compared to these other guys it looks like A&M will get? Like, where would he have ranked versus a Marco Jones? And it's the same thing, nothing against the, what's his name, the DB in Cyprus.
Paris Melvin.
Wide receiver DB. He is going to go to Texas and flips out his A&M visit for Texas, and people melt down. It's like, I don't even know. I will say this, I don't want to jeopardize any future recruitment, but I don't know what kind of take he was at that point. And if you're going to go that negative on something like that, then you need to be that much more positive and like react accordingly, like with an equal to or greater than reaction, at least an equivalent reaction when they go and get Sam Roseborough over Texas a week after his official visit there. That's all I'm saying is like match that energy. You again, like we always say, you can be negative, but don't be scared to be positive about it and give credit. At least take the, people talk about maroon colored glasses. I don't know what the opposite are that so many people wear, but take those MFers off. Throw them away and just start looking at it and enjoying the good. Don't be afraid to. And I saw more comments yesterday. They landed KJ Edwards, an elite football player. And before we go, I think we have to talk about him in the future, like the next week or two, what's upcoming. An elite running back, a game-changing back. You guys saw those highlights? If you watched their in-house visit, that dude he is an absolute game breaker. And if he wasn't running in maroon and white, he'd be running in purple and gold or burnt orange or whatever. And I think A&M fans would be going, man, I wish we'd gotten him.
Mm-hmm.
You got him.
Coach Surratt compared him to Alvin Kamara.
Oh, wow. That should hit home. That's what we should have said right off the rip to Aggies. But no, everybody's excited about KJ Edwards. That you should have been excited about Roseborough. And everybody will be excited if they close out Arrington tomorrow. You should be excited about Cole Hamill. Like another guy that Oregon really wanted that you won for. So I'm just saying, kind of get up to speed in what's actually happening with this stuff. And look, we're writing about landing a potential 5-star running back here, right? And more of the comments from Aggies, I don't care what Texas fans say, from Aggies was, well, we've seen this before, number one, wake me up when or, yeah, but it all just ends up 8-4, or we got to hang on to it. Like, if that's your mindset and your approach, I just don't understand why you follow it. You're allowed to enjoy it, and you can have the common sense to go, they've got to develop them, they've got to keep them on campus, they got to get them across the finish line. But you can also have the common sense to go, that was a completely different coaching staff. You have the common sense to go, that was an outlier, because the reality, guys, I'm here to remind you, top 5 recruiting classes typically win you a lot of football games, even in the SEC. Teams in those playoffs typically recruited at the top 5 level. Just because it backfired on you once does not mean that's not where you want to live and be at all times. It's almost like they'd rather not get the good players and I don't know, just have them magically turn up.
They wouldn't
they
apply
don't
these
hear
same
about 'em?
principles to their personal lives.
Well, they also wouldn't.
You try to make yourself better every day. You try to get raises, right? You try to make decisions to put your family in better financial futures.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work out. Does that mean I should stop trying?
Yeah, apparently.
Like, would you do that with your personal life? Of course not. But you know what? I found out yesterday that goalposts are real light.
Yeah.
They're pretty easy to move, apparently.
Yeah.
Because this A&M fan base just keeps moving them.
Sounds like a good plug for my podcast.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
That was on accident, right? You didn't mean to do that.
Of course I did.
Oh. Yeah. By the way, Randy,
Hype, ma'am.
Randy, who's a Texas fan.
He's paid handsomely to hype such podcasts.
I'm going to listen to it too, if Billy. How about
Thank
that?
you.
Randy, a Texas fan, says recruiting ability for Hatton and Edwards is money, nothing else. It goes way deeper than that.
Well, it's just funny. Forget about how deeper it goes. Every kid from now on,
if you don't
is
get
recruited, but every kid is. There's an NIL component to every single recruitment across the country from, a couple of years ago until something changes. That is what it is. Okay, that's the dumbest comment, and I've heard it 100 times since yesterday. Randy, no offense, you're not dumb. That comment is dumb. I appreciate you texting in. I really do. But if you're wired that way, you have to know how much money Texas is throwing around in NIL. You have to know that, right? You have to know how much A&M is, and Texas Tech, who openly brags about it. A&M and Texas seem to they'd rather it just not be advertised. And right. I think that's another thing I wish A&M fans would understand is A&M's doing pretty damn well on the NIL front. You can always do better, and I think that's part of why these coaches don't want numbers out, because they don't want people going, oh, they're fine. In other words, like donors. But you can't believe that you can't always do that. And A&M fans, I see us do it sometimes, so you can't always do it. And sometimes that is the case, sometimes it's not. But sometimes it's just great, good old-fashioned recruiting. You have to assume that these elite players are going to get money wherever they want it. And it's not that. It's I'm telling you right now, in this instance, it's a guy like Trooper Taylor.
Yep.
And there is still recruiting that has to be done because everyone is offering NIL, and everyone is offering more NIL this year than they ever have.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back. Let's talk Arrington on the other side and maybe some other things that are possibly happening. Daily Company, a family-owned company that offers HVAC, electrical, and plumbing generator services 24/7 on their HVAC side. They do the thermostat repairs, refrigerant leaks, furnace failures, plumbing. They take care of all those leak repairs, clogged drains, you name it, water heater installation, electrical wiring, outlet repairs, and upgrades for safety and efficiency, and generator repair, maintenance, installation. They serve College Station, they serve Bryan, they serve Houston, they serve Austin. Upfront prices with no surprises. Contact the Daily Company, 979-2060-2020. That's 979-260-2020. Or visit them at godaily.com to experience the daily difference. It's the Daily Company. We're walking the line here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Recruiting Country. Huh?
They playing Johnny Cash probably because we're all in black over here.
Yeah.
You thought we lost a commitment.
Welcome to the program. It's Recruiting Country, brought to you by American Momentum Bank. Let's talk Brandon Arrington. He's going to commit tomorrow, if my memory serves correct.
I wish you were wrong on that. Just
I'm right,
the way
though.
you delivered it, I was like, if we'd had been like, no, actually, yeah, you're right.
Tomorrow.
You tried to OB us there.
What date is that again?
Yeah, hit you with a question that you can't find the answer to immediately.
away.
Yeah,
It's tomorrow.
okay.
I'm
Yeah,
confident.
You're right. Yeah, and we feel good about where A&M's at from multiple sources across the country. And
Yeah, I've kicked the tires, not kicked the tires. I've reached out directly to sources out west that feel like that's been trending A&M's way pretty significantly, the last few days. So, yeah, it's one of those situations where you're 24 hours from the finish line, but you're like, yeah, you have every reason to feel good about it, but you also know it's not across the finish line.
Yeah,
And
it's a
that's
West Coast
recruiting.
kid against that school with that type of NIL backing. Like a late run is completely not out of the question here. But
I'm not expecting it though.
But to what Billy was talking about earlier with Trooper Taylor, like kind of starting to see some real arrows pointing in the right direction for Jordan Peterson as a recruiter, somebody that came in, obviously played at A&M, is from Lexington, so he knows the school in the area. But I think, because he's an Aggie, people might be like shortchanging his ability as a recruiter, but we're starting to see it come to fruition now. And really, when you look at the defensive back class that he could be on his way to putting together, the corner class, it's pretty stinking impressive.
Even last year.
Yeah.
In that cornerback class. I think part of it is too, it's not just, he's an Aggie, you're familiar. It's that he came from Kansas, and I go back to a guy who Kevin Sumlin told me he was going to hire. I had no idea who he was. He said, look him up. So I looked him up. Old Texas high school coach. It was David Beatty, who did an amazing job of recruiting wide receivers to Texas A&M when he was here. He was and really putting A&M back on the map in DFW, where they had been a non-factor for several years prior. Whether that was Sherman or Frant. Generally, there was a stretch there after RC where A&M was a non-factor in DFW. It was a problem. OU was rolling the way they were. David Beatty went up there and turned it around for the Aggies, not only at receiver, but in DFW as well. And he was at Kansas at the time. Had gone from Rice, I think, to Kansas. High school to Rice to Kansas. Jordan Peterson left, I think got his first job out there at Fresno with Tim DeRuyter, when DeRuyter got the head job up there. Made his way to Kansas, where, by the way, they've done great things under Lance Leipold, in the last few years. And I know when Elko hired him, Jordan was one of those final or only couple guys he was looking at. Part of it was he's got a reputation for recruiting lights out at Kansas. He brought some real talent in there that ended up going to the NFL. The question was going to be, it looks great. How does that translate down here at A&M? And I think Elko obviously made the right call, because he said, great recruiter at Kansas, going to be a great recruiter at A&M. You know why? Because he's a great recruiter. And that it's as simple as that sometimes. You just have to find the guys where you find them. Everybody talks about, Jeff Banks is regarded as one of the better recruiters in the country. I mention him because he's here at A&M. Then he got hired by Nick Saban. Then he left for Texas. He's been good everywhere he's been. But don't forget, when he got to A&M, no one gave a damn about him. Everybody was worried about losing Polian.
Right.
Because you lost Brian Polian, who you took from Stanford, and you lost him to a head coaching job after just 1 year. And everybody goes, man, that's such a huge hire, because he had a name at Stanford, and it was the Polian name. And then you go and hire this guy from UTEP named Jeff Banks, who is a former punter, and didn't move the needle at all within the A&M fan base. And you see where it's gone, from the moment he stepped foot here. So, yeah, I think Peterson, quietly, like you said, is really kicking ass on the trail. Right
and to me, there's a similarity to what Billy was saying about he was hired because of what he's done as a coach and as a recruiter and as a developer. It's just the cherry on top that he's an Aggie.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make a difference.
Yep.
And it reminds me a little bit, like, I can draw a straight line to Cliff Pennington on the baseball side. Like, great recruiter, really knowledgeable of the game, can teach the game, good developer, and he on top of that, he's an Aggie. So
I
it just
always
helps.
prefer when they go make a name for themselves first somewhere else.
Yeah.
That always, to me,
I agree with that.
carries a little more weight. I want to go back before we go. We're going to talk what's coming up, and then I want to, real quick, KJ Edwards again. They've got a couple of, I think, spectacular skill players committed in this class. And Aaron and there's more, but Aaron Gregory, KJ Edwards, and Jonathan Hatton, I mean, those guys to me are potential game changers. And you watch, like I said, Edwards highlight tape, that dude is just straight up electric. He's explosive. He's a home run hitter. He, 11-something yards a carry. It is, you watch that tape, it is straight electricity. And we talked yesterday, Nuño, and somebody asked, what will set A&M? I said, I know they're going to have all these boxes checked. The one I don't know for this team this year is, are they going to have those skill position players that are top 3 in the league or at any position? How many of these guys that are going to be in the NFL, but this year are going to be top 2, 3, 4 players at their position in the conference? Top 5 even, just call it that, because they're dynamic playmakers all across the field, everywhere, and any team that comes out of the SEC and represents in the playoffs, and some that don't. These guys have that. KJ Edwards, the guy they added yesterday, absolutely has that juice.
Brian, I got about a minute left. Tell us about the.
Well, it could be a busy, probably 2 weeks. I mean, I'd go all the way to July 4th, and I think if you draw the line at July 4th, where Tank King, the linebacker from Port Arthur Memorial, has announced that he is going to make his public decision that day, that's probably a good line in the sand to draw when you look at what A&M's done. Something like you could be adding. I mean, it's not out of the question that they add half a dozen more between now and then. I mean, if you set the over
I think
under
of 5 off the top of my head that I absolutely believe they're going to land.
And with the way they're rolling, if you set the over under at 6.5 between now and the end at midnight of July 4th, I might go over, just because you can't factor in kind of this momentum that the surge that they've been on.
I can think of 6 sitting right here that I think they'll have by then, and that I'm probably forgetting someone. But look, I think the Edwards addition yesterday is going to set off a little run here, where I think you mentioned July 4th. I'll bet, counting KJ Edwards, I could easily see them landing 3 like guys that are, that high 4-star, borderline 5-star discussion, like major impact players between now and then. And then there's a couple others that people.
That's not even factoring in Lamar Brown.
Yeah, it's not factoring in Lamar Brown. It's not factoring in Tristan Keys,
right?
Who A&M is now very much in the mix for. Who else? Tylen. They're making a move there.
Tylen Wilson,
5-star wide receiver out of Mississippi. Like so.
Oh, Jace Matthews.
Yeah, no, not Tylen Matthews. I mean, Tylen Wilson safety, but and him too. But yeah, Jace Matthews receiver. Like, not even counting those guys. So I think they're, and on top of that, there'll be another player or 2 that I think you'll see A&M add that people kind of like Roseboro a couple days ago that people weren't really expecting.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Dave.
When we come back, Pete Fiutak, college football news next on TexAgs Live. And we're back, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Pete Fiutak joining us from College Football News, good friend of the program. Talked to his buddy John Harris earlier in the day, so we'll chit-chat with Pete now. What's up, Pete?
I'm doing fine. How you been?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So I want to start things off with A&M. I know you heard a little bit of recruiting country there. Just year 2 for Coach Elko. Bullish on the potential, still got some questions. Where are you when it comes to A&M?
Win the go to the college football playoff. Like, they were close. I mean, that was, last year, everything was right there. Could they win one of the bookend games? Could they beat Notre Dame? Could they beat Texas? And, obviously those were the 2 games where they came up a little bit short. But everything else, you can't really argue with how the trajectory of this program looks under Elko because, all right, so they didn't get there, but they had a very good year. And its first year is always going to be a little bit of a reboot. And now with the transfer portal era, you got a good base of players, and the recruiting, the transfer portal recruiting has been great. Starting 22 is a little strong. I kind of listened to these guys talking before about having the skill guys. Well, okay, you might not have the elite of the elite NFL talents, but they're certainly good enough, and the lines are good enough. So with the schedule looks pretty favorable, get to 10-2 and get to the college football playoff.
So you think 10-2 with that schedule, considering the 3 big road games at Notre Dame, at LSU, at Texas, you think 10-2 is possible?
You got to win one of those, obviously. But I mean, if you're missing Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, much improved Oklahoma, and Tennessee. So you don't get Kentucky and Vanderbilt, but you obviously got to play someone in the SEC, and obviously Notre Dame's pretty strong too. But you can't argue too much with this schedule. So it's the SEC. You're going to have to come up with a road win somewhere, and the Notre Dame game's a 50-50 game, and there's no game on the slate that you're looking at and you're saying, nah, Texas A&M can't win that game. So at the very least, be in the mix for all this stuff. And, who knows how this is going to work? Because as, we'll see how the College Football Playoff Committee starts to look a little bit more at schedules. And, I don't buy in the whole notion of the SEC schedule is just that much better. I mean, you can go down the list of SEC, non-conference losses last year, but you kind of have to give it a little bit of look at, okay, if you're really looking at this hard and you're saying, okay, well, they torched everyone else, but you lost on the road at those 3 games, they still might be one of the 12 best teams in the country.
So let's talk about the SEC in general, because while I recognize there are the top dogs because it's the SEC, I have questions on all of them, right? Georgia, I have some questions. I have questions about Texas. I have questions about Bama. A lot of the questions I have are quarterback-based, right? So just when you look at the SEC, how much faith do you have in that upper tier?
It's not just the SEC. So, I mean, look at the top teams in the country. Just ask average person on the street, who are the best teams in college football in general? Well, okay, Ohio State. Who's their quarterback? Well, they're still in a fight. Alabama, okay. Georgia, Oregon, Notre Dame. All these schools are they have their quarterback situation pretty much figured out, but it's not a total lock. So all these top schools who are going to be in the top 10, it was like 7 of the top 10 probably don't have their quarterback situation totally 100% locked down. So who do you know? Drew Aller of Penn State, who's okay, he's okay, but there's a guy, and everyone's picking Texas to win big things because they know who Arch Manning is. So the question marks at the top are these quarterbacks going to come through like you're hoping they do? Like you said, Georgia, they might have fixed the glitch. They went out and got themselves some receivers. Their defense is going to be good. And it's now, like you said, it's just a question about the quarterback play because they are going to step back. Carson Beck really was a talented NFL caliber player. Alabama, is this offense going to work already? Ole Miss, they didn't reload like last year through the portal. So this is not the same Ole Miss team last year, which leaves a void. And everyone's all hot on South Carolina because, Lenora Sellers. With South Carolina, the 100 years of this is their year, So, again, there's a void there where if you're missing all these top teams, if you're A&M, LSU is going to be good. That's going to be a tough battle. Texas is going to be a tough battle. But if you are college football playoff good, you got to win one of those games.
All right. So where are you on Marcel Reed? Because I think he actually, I don't want to say overachieved because, they didn't win in November. But I thought he played really well considering He was the backup, thrust into action for multiple reasons, lack of good play from Connor and also injury early on.
And that's the crazy part about the Texas A&M quarterback situation ever since the Kellen Mond era. I mean, list them right off. I mean, you've got good players. You've got Haynes King in there. You've got Connor Wegman. You've got Max Johnson. You've got guys who are going on to do other things and at least be good starting quarterbacks everywhere. But there just hasn't been a lick of luck. I mean, between injuries and other issues. And now hopefully you've got this settled with your quarterback in place. The backup situation isn't bad. But if you're looking at this, better this than I would, but it seems like if you don't have one of the best offensive lines in the country, it's certainly close. I mean, this front five is full of NFL guys. So just start handing the ball off. You got a couple of really strong transfer portal wide receivers in the mix there. So it's not going to be on Reed to carry this offense. If they can mix it up, hand it off a million times, and just let that offensive line go to work, then basically it takes all the pressure off him, hopefully, if this works out like you want it to.
Well, you mentioned that offensive line and handing it off. That backfield could be one of the best in the country as well, with Le'Veon Moss. When healthy, had been fantastic. Reuben Owens, all the promise in the world. Amari Daniels was huge for them last year as their third-string running back, but still rushing for 600 yards. So the backfield, I think, could be what really Marcel can, and he can run too, by the way.
Yeah, exactly, and he's probably your most electric threat when it's moving. But and that to go along with the receiving core. Again, you get Concepcion, who's probably the best receiver in the portal this year, to go along with the other parts that are there. So the guys are there. It's just a question of getting luck. I mean, it is. Can Reed stay healthy? Can you avoid massive injuries on parts? But now in year 2 under Elko, going back to your original question, it seems like there's more depth there. That's where the transfer portal really helps more than ever before. And for all the people who dog the new world of college football and all the changes and stuff that we all like and don't like, the one positive from the strictly the game aspect of it is you have the top teams can get more depth now. So you get better play. You can avoid injury. You can get past the injury issue a little bit better. Notre Dame was the best at it last year. They lost, everybody on their line and Benjamin Morrison at corner and other spots, and they just were like next man up. It's fine. So A&M's there. I mean, this is a program that is absolutely built for the new era, just about as good or better than anybody else.
Got about a minute left. Just give me some thoughts on Notre Dame this year, because you mentioned them as one of these teams. You got a question at quarterback, some defensive holes to fill, but Marcus Freeman seems to have those guys. He had it last year when I thought that line was going to be decimated because of injury. Next man up, it worked.
There's something to be said about the power of positivity, and he's just one of those guys where no excuses. I mean, every coach says that, you got to go for it no matter what, but they never hung their head for a second with all these injuries. The quarterback question, that is a thing, because Riley Leonard was good. He wasn't the first round draft pick caliber guy that everyone thought he was going to be coming out of Duke a couple years ago. But he was certainly fine. So the quarterback situation is a question mark. They did not go to the portal this time, but their lines are absolutely terrific. And they have raised the talent level to a whole other level. Now, this year, they start off the year. Last year was A&M. This year, they start out against Miami. So, another nasty game to start the season, but A&M certainly going to be, if not the toughest game of the schedule, the second best.
All right, Pete. Great stuff, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll do it again, all right?
Absolutely. Anytime, dude.
See you, man. Pete Fiutak, College Football News. Great follow and a great website for your college football resources. Hit a final break before we close out the show. Moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 and Caldwell online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. There's car buying, and then there's the Caldwell Country experience. Their strong, committed sales staff brings decades of experience to the table with one goal: complete customer satisfaction. Doesn't matter who you are when you go there, you're going to have an excellent, excellent time because of the customer service, the great value, the great pricing. They don't just make sales, they build relationships, and that's why they offer complimentary pickup and delivery for all of their service customers. They know that your time is valuable, and Caldwell Country Chevrolet's promise is simple. They treat every customer like family. About a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Final segment of the program. Time for a little Around the SEC, brought to you by the Jaxer Group. Ava Davis at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. You got SEC opponents for Texas A&M.
I do. They just posted them. The Aggies men's basketball conference slate will conclude or have 7 of the 9 SEC opponents coming to play at home in the 2026 earn spots in the 2025 NCAA double tournament. The NCAA double tournament teams coming to College Station next spring include the defending national championship, the Florida Gators, along with Kentucky, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas. Some other SEC teams coming to play at home include LSU and South Carolina. The Aggies SEC schedule has 9 home games and 9 road games, where the Aggies will face 12 schools, including 3 schools that they will face twice. The road schedule will include 8 of the 2025 NCAA tournament, includes trips to Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, and Vanderbilt. The 3 opponents they will face twice, home and away, will be LSU and Oklahoma and Texas.
Ava Davis, good job. I don't know why I went first name, last name, but I did. So thanks very much. All right, folks, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live here on a Wednesday. Tomorrow and Friday, Bronny is in the chair. I'm taking a couple days. I'm going to take Monday off, too. But I think Nick and Zane are doing Monday. Just taking a couple days off to have some family in town and take them to Houston, and I'll be back and around. But thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll catch up with you guys. Bronny mañana, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Figured out your other issue.